So we have been living with the River ND for the last 2 months or so, and it's been a really good experience thus far. Again, driving home my point that especially when it comes to EVs, I love to do these long-term reviews because that's what gives you a really good idea about reliability. And as far as the River ND is concerned, it's been a really smooth journey. There have been no hiccups, no breakdowns, no glitches, no issues whatsoever. And the more I ride it, the more I have learned to appreciate this utilitarian approach, which is quite different from other EVs. They call it the SUV of EV scooters, and it definitely looks the part because of the funky headlight. You have this huge seat, which is flat, wide, and really spacious, really comfortable both for the rider as well as the pillion. This is by far the most comfortable seat that I experienced on an EV scooter. Then you also have the most amount of space. I mean, you have a 43-liter boot, which is good enough to hold a full-face race helmet and a smaller helmet. A small glove box here as well. So total, you have around 55 liters of space. And if that's not enough, you have more options in terms of these pannier racks can hold 40-liter panniers and also a top rack, a hard case of 25 liters. So yeah, space is one thing that you are never going to run out of. Also, you have a 20-inch floor bed. So in terms of utility, it checks the right boxes. Driving home the SUV point also means that you have 14-inch wheels, you have wide tires, you have twin shocks at the back, which offer you preload adjustability. You have 165 millimeters of ground clearance, which is plenty and more. And in terms of suspension setup, I feel it's a mixed bag because I love the rear shock. I think it's one of the most compliant units that I've experienced on EVs thus far. But the front can definitely do with more rebound damping because right now you can feel the feedback coming on whenever you're riding on a rough patch or from rumble strips. I definitely feel it can do with a little more rebound damping, which will also help it brake better because you'll have a little more support under braking, and also in corners it will help you stay on your intended line. The fact that it has a 4 kilowatt-hour battery, my expectations were quite high, and I was a little bit disappointed when I saw that it has 3 riding modes, and in the eco mode you can expect about 110 kilometer range, in the ride mode about 90, and in the rush mode, which is the fastest, most responsive mode, you can get about 70. But the more I rode this, the more I understood how they have tuned or used the battery and the motor. This is the only EV that I have come across which allows you to ride in the most aggressive, the rush mode, even when the battery has depleted up to 6%. And even then, you are still in the rush mode, it's just that the torque is obviously reduced. I love the freedom that gives you because this is not an option which you have on the Olas and the Athers, where you're forced to ride in a less powerful mode, and especially the eco modes on those scooters, they are not even useful, which is not really the case on this one because eco mode on this, you have enough torque to not just carry on puttering and doing all your city commutes, but also it can scale up a 18-degree incline in the eco mode, which I think is fantastic. And not just that, it also comes with region. It's not adjustable, but then along with the region, if you ride it in the eco mode, you can easily eke out about 110 kilometer range as they have promised, if not more, because the region really helps you in the city. Even in the rush mode for that matter, what really impressed me was the fact that it did not matter how I rode it. A lot of it was in the city where I was really gunning the throttle. About 20 kilometers were on the highway where I was going at 90 kilometers an hour. And then another 15 odd kilometers when I was riding with the pillion. And still I managed to extract about 64 kilometer range with 2% battery still remaining. It's still very much in the ballpark of what they are claiming. They claim 70 in the rush mode, you're getting 64 in all of these diverse conditions without me trying to save the battery at all. Another thing which really stood out was On all of these runs over the last 2 months, not once did I find the battery or the motor overheating or a huge drop in performance across multiple runs. So where can it improve? So when you look at its 1.38 lakh price tag, you can't help but want more from the dash, which is very simple, very basic. I love the way it's laid out. You have all the information at a glance, but it's very simple. It's not touchscreen. There is no navigation. And also the button quality is not really the best. So even like resetting the trip meter is quite a task than it ought to be. I also feel in terms of region, its competition has made a big step, whether it's Ola as well as Ather. I feel that that's one area where they can definitely improve, because that will also help them make the River Indy a little more engaging to ride, and also possibly eke out a little more range in every single ride mode. Also in terms of battery, as of now, they don't offer a fast charger, which means when you're charging anywhere between 5% to 100%, you're looking at almost 6.5 hours for the battery to completely charge, which is a long amount of time. And about 0 to 80 takes about 5 hours. Hopefully the fast charger will rectify that. And lastly, I know I'm being a little more picky, but even the reverse mode is not the easiest to access. Again, it's down to the button quality. It's not as easy a simple button which you press and you are in the reverse mode as on the Ola or the Athers. And the last hurdle is of course the fact that River Indy is very new in this market. They are primarily now based out of Hyderabad and Bangalore, and this scooter will only be available in Pune in maybe November. So there's still a lot of gap that they need to bridge in terms of after sales service and the places where this is actually available for you to purchase. But as a scooter, the one thing that they've done really well is they've made a really good scooter. And even this 2-month hard test, I've had very little to complain about, very little to fault. And it has not been plagued with any of the software issues or mechanical issues that we have seen on these other EVs. So I feel it's only a matter of time before River gets their after-sales service or their network in place for this to thrive as well as it should.